So what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my week number 17 injury roundup for fantasy football in 2021. Inside today's video, I'm going to be going in depth into some of the notable injury news, as well as breaking down how you may want to pivot based upon the injury news. But before we could get on into things, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you do hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you hit that like button down below. It would help us out a ton. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 17 injury roundup. We begin with Jordan Howard, running back of the Philadelphia Eagles. We are currently sitting in a situation where it appears to be a game time decision on if Jordan Howard will be able to suit up this week for the Philadelphia Eagles. He did practice in a limited fashion twice this week towards the end of the week, which would point towards the possibility of him suiting up. But it was a neck injury that he is dealing with, so it is far from a guarantee that he is going to be able to play in this game. If Jordan Howard does not get the nod to play this week, then Boston Scott will be close to a must-start running back this week facing the Washington football team. If Howard does get the nod to play and he is the starting running back on the team, then he is kind of a low-end running back too, like running back 24, 25, 26, somewhere in that range. For me, the matchup is just so good up against the Washington football team, who just got eviscerated by the Dallas Cowboys. So I really do like Jordan Howard this week if he's able to go. Am I very confident that he is going to be the clear lead back? No, because I think Boston Scott will be seeing some work as well. The best case scenario for this situation, if you have Jordan Howard and Boston Scott, is that Jordan Howard does not end up playing, because Boston Scott could easily be a top 12 running back if he is given the lion's share of carries in this Philadelphia Eagles backfield. Next up, we move to a quarterback, and that is Sam Darnold, quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. This week, facing the Saints, Sam Darnold will be the Panthers starting quarterback. In terms of Darnold himself, starting him this week up against one of the best defenses in all the National Football League would be a foolish move. There's no reason to start Darnold, who hasn't played a game in months. You know, in your fantasy championship or your semifinals of your championships next week. That would just be silly. For the other options on the team, in my opinion, I think DJ Moore is still a very start-worthy option. Now, his upside has been limited as of recently, but he is still the clear number one wide receiver on the team, so I would be willing to play him in this game, even though I do believe this is a tougher matchup up against the Saints. Going from Cam Newton to Sam Darnold should really be just a linear move, maybe even a slight step up for DJ Moore, so that's kind of why I feel he'll be just fine this week. The other options on the team, like Robbie Anderson or Chuba Hubbard, at the end of the day, I've kind of just X'd them out. There's no real reason to be starting them. Robbie Anderson's had like 2 flashes thus far this season, but no consistency has been shown from him. And then Chuba Hubbard is the number one running back on this team without Christian McCaffrey, but it's not like I expect Sam Darnold and the Carolina Panthers to lay the pipe to the Saints, put up a very high-scoring game. So the only guy I'm really looking to play from the Carolina Panthers is DJ Moore. Next up, we move to Elijah Mitchell, running back of the San Francisco 49ers. Mitchell is currently listed as questionable this week up against the Houston Texans. Head coach Kyle Shanahan noted that he will play as much as he could handle. In this scenario, you can certainly start him. He is now in a very weird territory where you have to start him over Jeff Wilson, and Jeff Wilson kind of becomes irrelevant, but there is also a chance that Elijah Mitchell isn't seeing that normal workload, that workhorse workload that we're looking for out of Elijah Mitchell. With the matchup being so simple up against the Houston Texans, I understand that the LA Chargers struggled mightily up against the Houston Texans last week. I don't think Elijah Mitchell should have an issue at all, though, having a very solid game in this scenario, even if he's not given that full workload, because the matchup is so easy up against the Houston Texans. So if he does get the nod to play, I'm definitely going to play him, and I will be leaving Jeff Wilson on the bench. I am just slightly worried about the fact that this is not going to be the same workhorse workload that Elijah Mitchell was given earlier on in the season when healthy. Next up, we move to Lamar Jackson, quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Lamar Jackson is currently listed as questionable this week up against the LA Rams, though the questionable mark, in my opinion, is very fucking deceiving, as he has not practiced all week, and he hasn't been practicing for the last couple of weeks when he has been out. The likely scenario is that his questionable means that he's out and Tyler Huntley starts for the team this week. With this matchup not being the most ideal up against the LA Rams, I still do believe that Tyler Huntley does have top 12 potential because of that immense rushing upside. We saw a similar matchup in his last start up against the Green Bay Packers. I thought that would be more of a tougher defensive matchup, but Tyler Huntley can just run the ball so effectively that it doesn't really matter. So up against the LA Rams, I will be starting Tyler Huntley if he does get the nod to go. If it does end up miraculously being Lamar Jackson, because again, I really don't think Lamar Jackson is going to play this week, then you can play Lamar Jackson. But if I'm being honest with you, without him practicing for all these weeks, it's probably better off for the Baltimore Ravens that Tyler Huntley plays this week, and then maybe next week they look towards Lamar Jackson. But before we break down the next player on the injury report, I would like to let you guys know that we have partnered with Yahoo Fantasy this NFL season to bring you guys some great offers. Check out our exclusive limited time offer, which gets you guys 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, you need to be new to Yahoo, sign up for an account via the link down below, deposit and play. That's it. Yahoo will send us your name after you play in your first paid contest, and we'll reach out to you via email with your coupon. If you would like immediate access, that's okay as well, because all you got to do is email support@awesemo.com and we will get you set up. You can also claim a free $10 of site credit by clicking the link in the video description down below, which can be used to enter any Yahoo contest, including the $1 million NFL Baller. Make sure to use our DFS tools and projections designed specifically for Yahoo to give you guys the best shot at winning big. Please make sure that you check out Yahoo Fantasy, link down below in the description. Back on into the video, the next injured player to discuss is Kareem Hunt, running back of the Cleveland Browns. Kareem Hunt practiced for the first time on Friday since he hurt his ankle in week number 14 up against the Baltimore Ravens. This would point towards a potential return this week on Monday Night Football up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Even if that was the case, with just 1 day of practice under his belt, my confidence in Kareem Hunt is very low, especially since Kareem Hunt isn't the lead running back of the Cleveland Browns. If Nick Chubb was hurt or something, knock on wood, we don't root for injuries, then Kareem Hunt, even on 1 day of practice, I would be jolting him into my lineup. Very excited for him to potentially be a top 12 back, even on 1 day of practice. But with Nick Chubb having a very solid role in this offense, I think it's just best to leave Kareem Hunt on the bench this week. Again, just 1 day of practice, not very confident in him. I understand that the Pittsburgh Steelers defense hasn't been amazing. I just don't really trust it coming off the injury. Next up, we move to A.J. Brown, wide receiver of the Les Titans, the Tennessee Titans. Brown was dealing with a calf injury, but returned to practice on Friday. The matchup this week up against the Miami Dolphins could be a very tough task for this whole Tennessee Titans offense, as they rank 6th in pass DVOA. Even with the tough matchup, though, the Tennessee Titans will be funneling the football to A.J. Brown. They're going to be force-feeding the ball down this motherfucker's throat, as well as the fact that Julio Jones is out, which would point even more to them just giving the ball to A.J. Brown all the time in the game. Last week up against the 49ers, the man had 11 receptions on 16 targets for 145 yards, as well as a touchdown. With that being said, with all this being said, I understand that the 49ers matchup is definitely better than the Dolphins matchup, but with so much volume just potentially being force-fed the way of A.J. Brown, even with the tough matchup, I'm still going to start A.J. Brown. Now, am I 100% confident? Am I all in on the fact that you need to start A.J. Brown? No, because I'm a little bit worried about the Dolphins' defense being so good down this win streak. But at the end of the day, you got to start your stud, start A.J. Brown this week, even though the matchup is a little bit concerning. Next up, we move to Andy Dalton, the Ginger Ninja, quarterback of the Chicago Bears. Head coach Matt Nagy stated that Andy Dalton will be the starting quarterback this week up against the New York Football Giants. This seemingly revolving door quarterback situation in Chicago has had virtually zero effect on the main start-worthy players on the team. David Montgomery is still a must-start running back based upon the volume standpoint, as well as the fact that this matchup is just juicy up against the Giants. Cole Kmet remains as a reliable streaming tight end option, and Darnell Mooney is still a lower-end start-worthy wide receiver. Now, he hasn't been the best as of recently. I remember a couple of weeks ago, he was on this stretch of, domination around Thanksgiving, and then recently, it's kind of fallen off the edge of the earth, but I still think you can start him, because again, the Giants defense just really isn't all that good. And final player to talk about on the injury report is Mr. You Like That, Kirk Cousins, quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. Cousins has been placed on the COVID list and will not be good to go this week up against the Green Bay Packers. This is going to elevate Sean Mannion into the starting role. Unless you're in a 32-team league, there's no reason to play Sean Mannion. The change at the quarterback situation should have very little effect, in my opinion, on Dalvin Cook. They're still going to force feed this motherfucker the ball in the freezing tundra in Green Bay. But this could lead to a less productive day for a guy that probably helped carry you to your championship in Justin Jefferson. Now, I understand the reasoning why you might want to sit Justin Jefferson because it's a huge drop-off going from Mr. Kirk Cousins to Sean Mannion. But at the end of the day, when you have a wide receiver with the skill set of Justin Jefferson, you just fucking gotta start him. You got to start the guy and hope that Sean Mannion isn't absolutely atrocious, and then Justin Jefferson will be just fine. When you have this quarterback stepping in, typically what they do is feed the ball to the best player, that being Justin Jefferson, so I think he'll be just fine, but definitely will see a dip off in production this week. If you expected him to be the #1 wide receiver on the week, which was potential with Mr. Kirk Cousins under center, don't really think that's going to be happening this week. So thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If I missed on anything, you want to talk about some injury discussion down below in the comment section, please make sure to leave a comment down below. Make sure you check out Yahoo Fantasy, link down below in the description. And if you did end up enjoying, hit that like button as well as that subscribe button. I love you guys all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, guys, kaboom!